I'm Jane Sterk, leader of the Green Party of BC, and welcome to our online talk show, Green BC, Solutions for a Better Future. It's my pleasure to welcome Bob Bridgeman, who is a member of the Mount Douglas Park Society. Mount Douglas Park being a gem in Greater Victoria where we have an opportunity to experience all kinds of wonderful things, from trails through some old growth forests to a beautiful stream that you've been involved in restoring. So let's start there and talk about Douglas Stream and what you've been doing.
Thanks, Jane. That's Friends of Mount Douglas Park Society. We have a lot of things going on in the park. The society, removal of exotic invasives and acquisitions, but my role primarily has been for the last 14 years as a director for streams, and I've been trying to create this vision and then fulfill the vision of a healthy natural stream in Mount Douglas Park. And so we've worked away at that. We started 14 years ago with a bit of litmus paper and the Streamkeepers methodology, and we've parlayed that into a much bigger project with multi-stakeholders, a big project every year. And we have actually got some salmon coming back to the stream. So that's pretty amazing, really, when you think about it.
So tell me about that progression from the stream. You say there's salmon now, which means that there probably wasn't salmon when you started. And what have you had to do to go from the condition the stream was in at that point in time, 14 years ago, to getting it so that it has replicates some of the natural stream conditions that allow salmon to be at home?
Well, there's a lot of different aspects here because there's cultural and physical aspects to all this. You really need to engage the community to get people behind this. Otherwise, nothing at all is ever going to happen. At the same time, we have a problem with the way stormwater is managed on the watershed, and that really shows up in the creek. And so we need to do some physical measures to try and keep it under control until the watershed's repaired. So a lot of the work we've been doing lately is putting in woody debris. We've been anchoring it in with wire rope to big heavy rocks, and we've been putting boulder clusters, spawning gravel. I think last year we put about 250 cubic meters of material in the creek, so that's a lot.
Yeah.
So this is, we're trying to create enough habitat so the fish can hang on until the watershed can be normalized a little bit.
I noticed on your website that part of that stormwater management is the use of rain gardens that are away from the creek that slow the stormwater in its travel from the hard surfaces on Shelburne into the creek. Can you tell us a little bit about that process? I noticed you standing by one of the gardens.
Because, it's really a monumental step forward into the future from what we had before. The old system, you have catch basins on the road, your vehicles leak oil, glycol, part wear onto the road. When it rains, that washes into the storm basin sends it in a rush down to the stream. It blows everything apart, pollutes, and then it stops. Mm-hmm. So this is the old system, right? Which is not the natural paradigm at all.
Right.
Our hydrograph goes, when it rains, it goes straight up and straight back down again. The hydrograph in a natural system, slow over the course of a long period of time. And this is the way the vegetative systems and the invertebrates and the salmon co-evolved in that kind of a system. And now we have a very different system. Mm-hmm. And so we need to, those rain gardens on Shelburne Street, such a tremendous lift for us because we've, for many years, worked to have that kind of structure implemented on the watershed, and so to have it is a real joy. We need lots more of them, mm-hmm. but it's a very start. And there was a lot of controversy when those we're calling the road swales, street swales, were put in place. But I noticed in this big rainy season we've had this winter that all those giant puddles that you drive through all over the place, there's none up there because those swales drain the road beautifully. Yeah. So and then of course the water goes into the ground. The vegetation picks it up. They're being planted now, and it evapotranspires clean, unpolluted water back into the water cycle. So they're a great technique. Very good.
I was smiling because I was on Esquimalt Council from 2005 to 2008, and when we were doing some road repairs or road upgrades, I kept saying, well, we should use this as an opportunity to get rid of our conventional way of managing stormwater and put in swales and rain gardens so that we can essentially put healthy water into the Gorge Waterway, which is next to where I live. And to have engineers in the municipal system wrap their head around a different way of managing our rainwater instead of the traditional way of pumping it into pipes is quite a phenomenal change. And I was actually very excited to see that you had been able to achieve that on Shelburne, because it really is an accomplishment. We see those things all over in Portland, but it has taken a little bit of time. And I actually think that Saanich is one of the communities in the Greater Victoria region that has been more open to looking at alternatives to the traditional way of piping stormwater.
Well, a couple of things there. I mean, we had a stormwater committee several years ago, and when we got it going, we had stakeholders from Department of Fisheries and Oceans and from the province, and I mean, it was a good, solid committee. But unfortunately, we were before the time where people were prepared to open up to it. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the work that was done in that committee, we did a downspout disconnection pilot project in Gordon Head, and to get people to disconnect their downspouts, because you think about it, 30% impervious area, 10% of that is roofs. Right. You take those downspouts out of the stormwater system, and you've knocked back 20% or 10% of the impervious area. So, but this stuff didn't fly because people were not ready for it. Mm-hmm. But I think society, there's lots about pollution control and how to manage ecosystems for resilience and biodiversity, and I think that's really kind of permeating through the society, and that of course helps things like street swales.
Yeah, and moves municipal governments and other governments forward.
Yeah, I think everybody, I think we're all on a learning curve, but I think definitely in Saanich, there's a real reception to these new technologies. Not new technologies, but these technologies.
They've been around a long time, actually. As you pointed out initially, they've been around in nature forever.
Yeah, all the little wetlands, that's exactly what they are.
Yeah. I just related to that, your organization has really been effective at bringing stakeholders together and working in partnership with others. Talk about that process. How have you approached that? How have you been able to essentially bring everybody to the same place at the same time?
Well, challenging for sure, and over the long haul. Didn't happen in one day. But, it was fairly easy to get the universities and colleges and schools involved, because they're always looking for environmental things to do, and they're teaching the environmental message. I think what really turned the corner for us was when we got some salmon back in that creek. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves fish. Fish are sexy, and when we actually stopped saying that this is doable, but demonstrated that it was, there was a remarkable change in people's interest. So, the stakeholders started to get more interested. Mm-hmm. And so, we've worked with a lot of people. Every year we do a vegetation plan out. Saanich Parks manages that now. To celebrate Tree Appreciation Day in Saanich, we do a riparian planting. But the Pacific Forestry Center, I deliver the seeds to them, I pick them in the fall, and they grow the shrubs for us. So that's a stakeholder that people may not know about, but very important. Mm-hmm. Saanich Parks is a huge stakeholder. They've been really the champions in the work we've been doing in the stream. So another stakeholder that is really tightly on board at this point. The Pacific Salmon Foundation, we've worked with them for probably 8 years now, and they've been giving us seed money to get these projects going, and then we can use it as leverage to create a larger and larger project. So another real strong stakeholder, but again, developed over time. So
and it sounds like that the excitement of we'll go back to the hatchery, but it sounds like the excitement of the salmon actually coming back, proving that what you were doing is going to have the result that you wanted, heightened everybody's interest and increased the energy and the commitment to the project.
Yeah, I don't want to forget to mention the hatchery, but just to follow that idea along, the famous paper by Van Alt et al., how streams are developed from the headwaters down into the larger streams is true geomorphology, true geomorphologically, but and ecologically, but there's another layer to this, and it's the cultural layer. And we're actually restoring our stream from the ocean up to the watershed, because bringing these fish back has made a cultural push to get people interested. It's, you know, people are not so interested in geomorphology or invertebrates or other things that are all very important, but the real driver for this has been the fish, and that's where the hatchery has come in, because Goldstream Hatchery, or Howard English Hatchery at Goldstream, the volunteers out there and the hatchery manager have been working with us for well over 10 years now, and they've been, you know, phenomenal. They've saved carcasses for us, and we do a carcass transplant every year to try and bring in those marine-derived nutrients we're not getting naturally. The fish, the 50,000 chum fry we've been transplanting in the spring, beautiful, healthy chum fry.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, they bring them to us, and we get the community engaged, and the community releases them for some value added. So I mean, the Howard English Hatchery and the volunteers out there have just been phenomenal. They're a real strong partner.
Yeah, yeah. And that's very exciting. I imagine you have, part of what you do is also an educational component with kids. Do you bring schools? Are they part of the, like I know that in some places kids release the fry so that they have a sense of ownership of the fish as they leave, and hopefully as they come back as well.
Well, the thing is that there's so many angles to this whole thing that it becomes a full-time job. And, you know, that's not, we're not able to do that full-time job.
Right.
And so a lot of things slip through the cracks. We have worked with kids releasing fry into the creek, you know, from the Salmon in the Schools program that DFO puts on. So, you know, they actually rear, classroom rear fry and then release those into the creek. We've done that. And we've done catch basins, marking catch basins. I think the real telling program that we brought a program to Victoria here, that Stream of Dreams program, and you know, the part of our objectives was to get a trainer out of delivering the program for the first time, which by the way Saanich paid for. You know, we organized it, and we got a trainer, Micklin Waldy, and she's done almost every school in the greater in the capital region. I mean, you'll see fish, wooden fish on every fence. So that's a real important educational program. Mm-hmm. Everybody learns about watersheds and salmon before they make a fish. So yeah, that's education is very important. In fact, people have told me that it'd be great to have salmon back, but the education's more important. You know, that may be, but for me, I'm the salmon guy. I want to see those salmon come back.
So I've got all kinds of questions I want to ask you, but I'll try and keep myself focused on a logical sequence, because I do really want to get to the point where we talk about the need for full-time work on this kind of thing, and what we would need to do to create that recognition in society and that willingness to pay for that kind of activity. But I want to talk first about the importance of salmon. Tell me why salmon is important. We know that it is kind of it's kind of what we built BC on in some ways, is our salmon, our wild salmon. I know the slow food movement have made salmon their local heritage food, but what's important about salmon from your perspective?
Well, a lot of levels of that. Ecologically, the ecosystems that we're familiar with here and that we all revere, those old growth forests and the fringes of the riparian vegetation, those co-evolved with salmon. And of course, if you take the salmon out of the picture, those ecosystems become something different. Mm-hmm. You know, the flush of marine-derived nutrients that salmon bring back with them are absolutely critical for developing the ecosystems as we know them here. Mm-hmm. So that's important there. Culturally, you know, the First Nations people here were very connected to the salmon, and their cultures derived out of them. And this is still salmon's First Nation place, whether we, you know, are prepared to realize it or not. It really is. So important culturally. To us, you hit the nail on the head. Salmon became one of the first, bigger than logging at one time. If you read the history of canneries on the coast here, very important to British Columbia as a economic driver. We've let that slip away. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we didn't have to. We could still have those huge salmon runs, but we've let that slip away, and now the job lies with us and future generations to bring that back, mm-hmm. which can be done. Mm-hmm. Not easy, but it can be done.